Hello, Yoda Tech, and otherwise. This is Chef Yoda 4x4, and as most people that have followed my thread for any length of time know, in fact, I would suggest it's probably been going on for about 2.5, 3 years with 2 different motors, you know, as far as gremlins that I've experienced. And so obviously you would think, okay, it's got to all be in the EFI or ignition system or something of the sort. However, when I changed the last motor, and I pulled everything out, as many people remember, the cam was completely toast. Okay, so I swapped in the cam first before swapping the motor, went on and on with Gremlin hunting for probably 25, 30 pages on one instance, and then started a thread, and it's called troubleshooting, 87 4Runner troubleshooting or something like that. And through reading, I realized 87 is just notorious for tons of problems, and that they seem to go from 86 to 87 the last year of that before they changed resistance on the injectors and all types of knock sensor signal, all kinds of other things. So a while back, I started to, maybe 2.5 years ago, I started to suspect the ECU because I had done everything else, and I can't get a code, and, you know, so on and so forth, right? So I don't think this thing ever threw a code other than one time when I had unplugged the TPS, and I think that was all it was. And again, as most people know, every sensor, almost in every sensor in here is new, and save a couple of them as far as EGR, things like that. But anyway, so I started to suspect the ECU. I've had 10 in my possession that have come and gone, and I've sold. And they've never come back to me or nothing, but I still had 2, couple buddies on my thread that visit my thread often. One of them has one that I know of for sure. And I remembered I had 2 when somebody called and said, hey, I need an ECU. And I went to go do a, demo video for him that it is operating in my truck, and all of a sudden, my truck no longer sputtered and idled down to 400 RPM at full closed loop. Excuse me. Okay, so I started tripping out. So I put the original ECU back in, which is the one that's still mounted up there. And it went back to sputtering again. Now, I left it out probably a good, 10 minutes, something like that, before plugging that one back in. Then I went back to this one that's laying down on the paper right here, paper towels. And you could see the sticker from the yard, from Pick Your Part. This is out of that 87 that was like, I took pictures of, that was like a total ridiculous, with wood veneer paneling all over inside and mirrors, and it was just the most disgusting looking thing, but it was clean. And that's the trans I got as well, which is operating perfectly. So, he took care of it. He just had terrible taste. What can I say? So this ECU that's laying down there is the one out of that one, and it is the same part number, 89661-35070, and obviously having the same trans, since I'm using it now, I knew that it would work, so I just got it to sell, really. Well, like I said, I went to plug it in, and I haven't had any problems up to this point right here. It will be probably around the 6th restart from cold. Maybe the 5th, I would say max, to be fair. But about 20 restarts in between, where I always was experiencing my hot soak issues. All right, so I have private messaged several of you just to talk about this, but obviously I'm having questions as to how many times would I need to start it to know that I can conclude it's my ECU. What I really found out is that I plugged in my original, and it did the same thing. And then I went back to this one and it didn't. Now that could be the other one has learned everything already, but I would think unplugging it for a bit, it would have been cleared. So I will start this now cold. I was able to also, another thing I mentioned in another video, I was able to adjust my idle air control, my idle air adjustment screw for the fuel ratio, that fuel air mixture, whatever, down like 3 full turns. As soon as I put this in, this other ECU, the idle was up a little bit after warming up, see, so I didn't have to screw it in so much. So now I'm going to start this. And on cold start, because I was screwing it in, because I screwed it in so much, it was going to about 1300 RPM. Okay, now it's, it'll come up a little more than that, probably to 1100. And then it will just run into closed loop, and so see there, it's at 11. I don't think it'll really go higher than that. It was up to like 1300, like I said, probably because I was opening the throttle body idle air control, idle air adjustment screw so much to where it was out like, you know, over 1/8 of an inch from the top. It's still out more than I would like, and that could have something to do with a coolant port being blocked or something like that. I'll mess with that later, but I'm pretty much done screwing with the Gremlins, you know what I'm saying? Until I do a swap, so. So as you can see, it holds at 1100. That temperature isn't accurate. It's actually very cold. See, that's kind of, it'll jump down and then come back up on its own. So that's a little Gremlin I have. It's not, I'm not really hitting it as hard as it sounds, you know, on the camera, I'm sure. So then it jumps up a little and then down. Anyway, enough banging on stuff. All right, so, you know, I've been watching all this time my voltage, and I've added a lot of electronics, you know, so I've been watching that. I had the issue with the with the signal wiring from the trailer harness and all of that stuff. So now you see it's slowly coming down. By now, previously, now you see it drop. So, okay, it drops to 800, 750, and this will be the 5th or 6th time now I'm starting it from cold, and I'm waiting and, you know, not hoping, but wondering, is it going to drop down to, you know, 400, 500 like it's been doing? And no, it's holding. Still chunky. I can feel how chunky it is, especially when cold, but you know, after a couple days, it went from like holding at 800 to now it's like 750, 700. But it doesn't seem to have dropped any further than that. So, all right, so I will pause it, drive around, and come back to you in a minute and see what I can find at the first couple stoplights when it's definitely, undoubtedly in full closed loop and fully operating temp. So, all right, I'll be right back. All right, so here we are on a slightly downhill slant. 725, 750 RPM at the first light. I'm about 4 minutes into taking off. So I just happen to make every light. So I will test it again or check in again in a couple minutes when I get to the store I'm going to, and test it from there. Looks like it's going to take me another several minutes to get to the lot, so I'm at the next signal a couple minutes later, holding at 700 RPM. Put it here so you can see it's a little chunky, but all things considered, it's a lot better than it was. Kind of all over the place. I'm still having the RPM drop with the headlights, but that's soon to be replaced, so the harness. So all right, so I'll check in again at the store, and then after a hot restart. almost to the store 10 minutes later. 7:50 on the dot. Seems also kind of odd that when the temperatures before would fluctuate, which now it's dropped like 15 degrees just in the few miles that I've driven off the hill. It would idle up, it seemed, when cold, and down when it would get warmer. But yet it would seem smoother when warmer. So anyway, it's definitely cooler now. But yeah, still holding. And then I will park, go do my shopping, come out and do a hot restart video. Alright guys, thanks. Alright, just to show you, parked, engine off. I'll be back about 20 minutes. Seconds in your time. Just to test it out, see if I got the hot soak thing. I'm waiting for it to come back just by the luck that I've had. Not that I believe in luck, but you know, it's just been an endless fight with these gremlins. So for it to be a possibility that it's something that is almost always dismissed by every guru, and then, you know, including myself, not a guru, just a, you know, I think I'm fairly well read on some of this stuff, and having had tested everything on here, it just seems so odd, you know. But like has been mentioned in my thread and in responses to me, but in my thread long time ago, you know, they are old, you know, 27 years old, 20, 28 in some cases. Mine's, you know, I guess 27. And they can, you know, just start to fall apart. Solder connections break, whatever. That's my guess. The odd thing is I never threw a code, so I would just think that the ECU, I don't know, I would think if it lost contact anywhere within the loop, that it might throw a code, because there is troubleshooting in the troubleshooting section of the emissions portion of the book where it goes over codes and all that. It does suggest the ECU could be this code or that code within my year anyway. Alright, I'll be back.